and welcome to Connecting Hope. In today's episode, we will be continuing our conversation around childcare, specifically quality supports. When many people think of MDHS and childcare, they automatically go to the childcare payment program. But in today's episode, we're going to look at the notion that MDHS childcare is more than a certificate. That through our quality supports, we're making sure that MDHS is aligning childcare quality in Mississippi with the metrics of preparing children for K-12 success. We will be talking with Dr. Chad Allgood about how this program is preparing Mississippi's children birth to 5 for educational success at the K-12 level. Chad, thank you for joining me on this next episode of Connecting Hope, where we talk about the Mississippi Lift Resource and Referral Network. And let's start with a reminder, what does Mississippi Lift stand for? And it's kind of multifaceted. I'll admit, got locked in on one part, but you have informed me that it's a lot deeper than I thought.
So thanks again, for having me to talk more about Mississippi Lift and what it is. LIFT stands for Learning Investment for Tomorrow, and we love our acronyms, of course. And that's really when we talk about what Mississippi Lift is. It is a learning investment because it's a collection of support programs for children and the adults that are connected to children. And there's a lot of adults that are connected to children. Obviously, we are going to focus on our early childhood teachers that work in child care programs across the state because that's natural. We're going to target parents because it's also a given that parents are connected to children. But really, the Mississippi Lift is for anybody in Mississippi that is connected to a child, whether it is a parent, a teacher, but also grandparents, aunts, uncles. Anyone that works with children can come in or can benefit from Mississippi Lift. We also chose the word lift because that's another key point of what we're trying to do with the network is lift early childhood education to the next level. And it's never a let's get here and then stop.
Yep.
Sky's the limit, literally. And we feel that Mississippi Lift, or as we built Mississippi Lift, we had a lot of conversations with people that are connected to children. What is it that you need? And from those conversations, we built a statewide network that it's not just resources. It's not just referrals to services. It's not just training. It's not just developmental screenings. It's not just offering a safe, fun, exciting place for people to bring their children. It's all of that.
So let's start with kind of some building blocks. We've already seen an episode on a resource or referral center. Is that your first introduction to what LIFT is, or are there other baseline components that people need to connect to?
So I think the resource and referral is a good place to start. And we've expanded the resource and referral, I mentioned earlier, from 15 sites to we now have 52. It was very intentional that we expanded the number of resource and referrals because it's one thing to talk about something, but when you can actually see it and you can see evidence of what you're talking about, things just start to click. And so, I've talked with people before about what early childhood education is, but it doesn't really all come into place for them until they walk into an environment like a child care program, et cetera. So we knew that we needed to expand the footprint of the resource and referral sites because when you walk into a resource and referral, you're like, I get it now. And we've seen this. We've had several open houses, across the state when we've had new resource and referrals. It's really cool to see members of the community. We've had state representatives, we've had mayors, we've had chambers of commerce, we've had, council members, superintendents. We've had a multitude of people from different parts of education, the community that walk in. And, it's cool to watch them walk in and they're looking around and they're like, this is really cool. I understand what early childhood is. So yeah, it's a good baseline. It's a good place to start. But it's not the only thing that comprises the Mississippi Lift Network. We have several partnerships with organizations across the state that we offer many different types of programs. Again, all under the Mississippi Lift umbrella, to help people know that these are quality programs, but these programs are designed to target different facets of the early childhood field, in the early childhood industry.
As we talk about some of those partnerships, it'll be important to understand that while one of those partnerships may be physically located in one part of the state, that partnership does extend because of the 52 locations and the 4 mobile units. It does extend their reach in those partnerships deeper into the state. And one of the unique things that we will highlight here is Mississippi has some fairly rural areas. Mm-hmm. And by putting resource referral centers in 52 locations and then having them connected to the mobile sites helps Lift have a foundational and concrete place to let families and providers jump off on. So what I want to do is go a little bit deeper about some of those partnerships within the network. I love that word network because it means that MDHS, Division of Early Childhood Care and Development, isn't working in isolation, but working in connectivity.
Because there's a lot of work to be done, and we knew that we needed to bring some good partners on board. So to actually do the resource and referral, we partnered with Delta Health Alliance and Mississippi State Extension. They do the most as far as operating the resource and referrals across the state. MDHS, we do have 2 locations. We're about to open a 3rd. Our flagship resource and referral is in the Jackson metro area. And then we have one in partnership with Jackson State University. So those are the resource and referrals, but then we go beyond that. Yeah. We also partner with the University of Southern Mississippi to run what's called the Mississippi Early Childhood Inclusion Center. And that is a program that's been around for quite some time. And they are rock stars with working with children that have special needs and families that have special needs. They offer a multitude of services. One of the primary things they do is they work with teachers that are in early childhood programs, help them understand what their role is and how they can support children that have special needs. They have several classes that go into detail about the specific needs of children that have different needs. And then also they do free developmental screenings for children, and then they'll refer those families to additional support services if it turns out that that's needed. We also have a program called the Nurturing Homes Initiative. Yep. And the Nurturing Homes Initiative is run in partnership with Mississippi State Extension. And Nurturing Homes, they work with our family child care programs. Because as you mentioned, Mississippi has very rural areas, and I grew up in the country, so I'm very used to walking out my door and there's cows, not in the kitchen, but we literally lived in a pasture, so or in the proximity of a pasture, so you need to go out and see the cattle. So I very much understand what rural Mississippi looks like, and while the country is beautiful and it's a great place to live, in certain places, resources for young children are rare. And finding childcare, you have a lot of families that live in rural areas, and just what we call traditional childcare may be difficult to stand up, whereas family childcare offers a fantastic alternative. And just because it's family childcare, which means the children go into someone's home, doesn't mean that it is less quality or there's less education going on in those programs. So Nurturing Homes actually goes into these family childcare programs, and they work with the family, the provider on curriculum, making sure that learning is going on. Again, all to lift our family child care just like we lift our traditional child care.
Getting into those homes where they may be caring for a family member, but also maybe 4 or 5 children from the community. These aren't ours. running a child care center takes a capital investment. So having the R&R, having the screenings available through MECIC is critical to help those, especially in those rural areas.
And I think what people also need to understand, if they don't already, is that yes, it is an investment. And that's, again, LIFT is learning investment for tomorrow. I've talked before about how it's not just child care, it's child care and education. So, a couple of other partnerships that really speak to that. So the care part and making sure the environments are safe and healthy, we partner with the Mississippi State Department of Health with the licensing program to make sure that those health and safety things are in place. But again, acknowledging the education part of it, we have a fantastic partnership with the Mississippi Department of Education. We align our training and our on-site coaching with Department of Education with their pre-K collaborative standards. It helps, we call it the passing of the torch, so to speak. As children move from being an infant, a toddler, into preschool, and you do have these preschool collaboratives, it's all about passing the torch to make sure as the child is moving through that trajectory, as they're getting older, that they're still accessing the best possible education that they can. We've also integrated into our quality support system, which is called Elevate. It's called Elevate Plus. And Elevate Plus is designed for child care programs that want to work towards really meeting those pre-K collaborative standards. And Department of Education coaches and our Mississippi LIFT coaches, they work hand in hand to make sure that passing of the torch, is happening in those early childhood programs.
Something that I think people need to appreciate is the deliberate nature that we're taking the quality supports of Elevate and helping families be informed that where they're going to spend their child care tuitions, where that tuition assistance program, the child care payment program as it is now exists, making informed decisions that there's an investment and that those dollars are being used deliberately to push children to a stronger level of preparedness to go into K-12. That partnership, I love hearing about a partnership with MDE because we know this in the world of government and the world of Mississippi. We tend to get into our silos and forget that there needs to be an interconnectivity. And I believe that what you are doing is not just good government, but it's good for Mississippi. You've heard a lot lately about Mississippi's gains in really grade 3 and 4 reading and math. But that doesn't start in 3rd and 4th grade or 1st and 2nd grade. Chad, what you guys are doing is really sustaining and building upon that Mississippi miracle and setting Mississippi up as an example for the future in making a learning investment for tomorrow, today with Mississippi's children.
It's very important for the educators that work in our birth to 5 realm, the educators that work in our K through 12 realm, to get a better understanding of what that looks like on each side. I would love to see more of our teachers in those birth to 5 classrooms, our teachers in those, at least the kindergarten through 3rd grade classrooms, coming together, gaining a better understanding of the needs of each other and saying, okay, how can we work together? Because what you do is just as important as what I do. For our children to be learning ready, you're absolutely right. It doesn't start at 3rd grade. It starts when the child is born, and then you have researchers that would argue it starts prenatally, before the child is even born. And I tend to support that position, as well. We have an infrastructure that funds our K through 12 education.
Yeah.
We don't have a formalized infrastructure outside of what we're doing with the Mississippi LIFT and the partnerships that I mentioned. And I will say that in the past several months, I've had more of our policymakers, our legislators, that are coming forward and they're asking good questions. They're asking, what can we do to better support early childhood? I love those kinds of conversations. I love when people come and they say, we recognize that early childhood education is important. What can we do to help? What can we do to support? Because Mississippi, like other states, we're building out an infrastructure, and we're still on the other side of a pandemic where education took a major hit. And we're still trying to build back, from that. We can't do it alone, just like you said. That's why the partnerships are very important. But anyone that's connected to a child, FYI, that's every single person,
Yes.
whether you realize it or not. Everyone is connected to children. We are all depending on children to bring about a brighter future. And we all have a part to play in that. And we need to accept that role and say, okay, I have a part to play. What can I do to make every single child in Mississippi's future as bright as possible?
You mentioned earlier that LIFT is not steps. The logo itself for Mississippi LIFT is river. It's an origami crane. I want to make sure I got that correct. It's an origami crane, but it's, in many cases, you're removing the limitations off child care providers, off of parents, off the child care and early child care development environment to let it soar, and removing weights. And I love the picture you've painted that Mississippi LIFT is not one or two isolated components, but that it's working together. So I'll close with this. If people are looking for resources of how they can get involved, where would you encourage them to start in being involved and understanding a little bit more about Mississippi LIFT?
Best place to start is you can go to the Mississippi LIFT website, which is just mslift.org. You will, when you go there, you'll get a little bit more understanding about what the network is, what our Elevate Quality Support Program is, what the resource and referrals are, our partnerships, etc. And then if you want to take an even deeper dive, you can also go to the MDHS website, mdhs.ms.gov, navigate to the Early Childhood Care and Education webpage. We have a lot of information on child development, what to look for, how children are learning, if it's revealed that a child has special needs, what are some supports there. So I would really start there. But if you're more of a hands-on person and you've got the time, again, go to the Mississippi LIFT website or the MDHS website, find your closest resource and referral, walk in and just talk to the associate about what they've got going on. They would be more than happy to talk to you.
Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more as we see Mississippi LIFT continue to grow. As I've gotten to know you over the past 4 years, there's always something new that your team is looking, as you said, not to stay stagnant, but to grow and help Mississippi be the example, a shining example, soaring, let's use that one, a soaring example of what we need to be in the child care landscape. Thank you.